Responding tonight, this being Thanksgiving week, we thought we'd visit the Mayflower II. Steve Scoble took a back road trip to Plymouth, Massachusetts for the story.
The Mayflower II is anchored not far from Plymouth Rock. It's a tourist attraction and a replica of the original Mayflower that brought over 100 anxious passengers across the Atlantic in 1620. When you board the ship, you talk about that historic voyage with people like Thomas English, in character. Did you run into any trouble, any problems on the way over?
There was a little difficulty at one time. We had a storm we was in. It was not a fierce storm, but fierce enough so that one of the beams did crack. Yeah, it gave the passengers a terrible fright.
And what was it like living on Mayflower for a 2-month voyage? Colonial interpreter Kat Harkins says it was not an easy time.
The passengers had to make do with the accommodations available to them. So on the what we call the tween deck spaces is where passengers were allowed to make some living space for themselves.
An old Thomas Edison film dramatizes how the Pilgrims came ashore in a small boat at Plymouth Rock after the long ocean crossing on the Mayflower. As far as how they passed the time of day on the voyage, what did they do?
I don't know much, Master. They were down below. I mean, we allow them on the deck as often as possible. Prod them up there a lot of times because these people don't want to move about a great deal.
So what happened to the original Mayflower? Well, it sailed back across the Atlantic and became a cargo ship between England and France. Eventually, it fell into disrepair. It is said that the timbers of the ship were used in the construction of a barn and that the masts of the ship became the pillars of a church. The Pilgrims said they set sail with an ocean at their back, a wilderness at their front, and no one to welcome them. The story you learn on the Mayflower II is certainly a story of Thanksgiving. Steve Scoble, News Channel 13, Plymouth.
That's our early report. Of course, we'll update everything at 11 o'clock tonight. Hope to see you then as well. NBC Nightly News with Mr. Tom Brokaw is up next. Stay tuned and have a good night.